Greetings, fellow Whovians, and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. With the upcoming release of The Evil of the Daleks coming to DVD on Blu-ray in September of 2021, I thought it was fitting to review perhaps one of the most surreal stories in the Second Doctor's era, The Mind Robber. Originally broadcast on BBC One in September of 1968, making it nearly 53 years old. Just in case you don't know the plot, the Second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe narrowly escape certain doom by using the emergency power unit on board the TARDIS, which not only takes them out of time and space, but out of reality itself, into a world where only fictional characters exists. The Mind Robber was written by Peter Ling, and this was a fine example of Doctor Who can be literally anything it wants it to be, bringing in this creepiness, this fun element, and all this wonderful sort of stories with fictional characters into the world of Doctor Who, and just throwing in this sort of Doctor Who sci-fi element into the mix. And also credit to script editor Derek Sherwin for writing episode 1 of The Mind Robber. In case you didn't know, the previous story had to be cut short and The Mind Robber had to be extended, but with no budget whatsoever. And I thought Derek Sherwin did a really good job of just pinholing or attaching episode 1 to the story proper of The Mind Robber, and it didn't pad out, it didn't feel boring or flat. It was just a really good way. It's a bit like the Edge of Destruction with the TARDIS, with the first Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Susan, all just stuck in the TARDIS for basically budget reasons. It reminded me a little bit like that, but just a bit more imaginative, with Jamie and Zoe seeing all these illusions to try and lure them outside, and the Doctor's fighting whatever this alien force that's trying to get into the TARDIS. And the cliffhanger to episode 1 of The Mind Robber is brilliant. It's probably one of my favourite cliffhangers in the show's history. Just the TARDIS exploding, Jamie and Zoe clinging onto the TARDIS console, Zoe screaming her head off, and the Doctor sort of whizzing around in his chair. It's really creepy, and yeah, a great cliffhanger. The one thing I do take from the Second Doctor era is the production designs and the sets are always usually to a high standard, and this is no exception. I love the tin soldiers. I love the design of the Master's room. I'll get to that a little bit later. The storyboards, the big books where Jamie and Zoe got trapped in, even some of the special effects that they use, like with Medusa with the stop motion animation, that's really good. I mentioned the tin soldiers, I think, and even the white robots. White robots were really good, and if you didn't know, that was recycled from an old science fiction movie from the late 50s, early 60s, I believe. But they do look really good here. It's everything that look like a prototype of the Cybermen in some shape or form, but it all works well. And what about the actors? Well, Patrick Troughton was in fine form here, and I don't think he gets as much appreciation as he does. I think he does. There's definitely a good pocket of Whovians who says that Patrick Troughton is their favourite Doctor, and I don't blame him. He just brings this extra sort of aura and buzz and just the fun factor into Doctor Who. If you compare it to William Hartnell, nothing against William Hartnell at all, but I feel that with if Patrick Troughton didn't pull off being a new Doctor, we would not be talking about Doctor Who at all. It would have just died and went away nearly over nearly 60 years ago. So yeah, for me, Patrick Troughton has done a fantastic job as the Second Doctor, and I loved sort of his playfulness in this story. I loved him with the Battle of the Wits with the Master, not the Master that we all know and love, there, but this other character that's called the Master. For this review, we'll just call him the Master Writer. I think that's just to make it a bit easier. But yeah, I love the battle of wits between the Doctor and the Master Writer, and I love the line he delivers after sort of writing himself out of the corner, saying, "Oh, you have to do better than that." I love that delivery of the lines, and also his interaction with the children when they was trying to bamboozle him with all the riddles that he had to solve. Again, yeah, Patrick Troughton just deserves a lot of credit for his portrayal as the Second Doctor. I also have to give credit to Fraser Hines as Jamie McCrimmon. I think Jamie is probably one of the most underrated Doctor Who companions ever, really, because whoever Jamie is interacting with, whether it be the Doctor, companion, a minor character, Fraser Hines always just brings this shine to his character, and there's a lot of thoughtfulness, I think, from Fraser as Jamie as the years go on, and even in Big Finish audios, and he just has a really good stage presence, and he just again just brings the entertainment sort of side of it. And to another sort of lesser actor, I think Jamie would have been a really sort of flat, one-dimensional character, but Fraser Hines just really just brought Jamie McCrimmon to life. We also had another Jamie in The Mind Robber in the form of Hamish Wilson. Now, behind the scenes, Fraser Hines got ill with chickenpox and had to be off work sick. So, because of the tight production block, they had to bring in another Jamie to fill in his shoes, and Hamish Wilson was it. And it was some clever writing as well to sort of bring him in and then bring him out again for when Fraser Hines came back. But I thought Hamish Wilson did a really good job mimicking Jamie, because not only did he have to quickly learn Jamie's lines, but he had to sort of bring that persona to life as well, or mimic as much as he can. Now, especially in those days when there was no sort of repeats or any sort of video clips to sort of hone in that character, I think Hamish Wilson did a really good job. Not to forget some of the other characters that was in The Mind Robber. I'll start off with Bernard Horsfall as Gulliver. I enjoyed his performance as Gulliver. I always enjoy Bernard in all of his Doctor Who stories that he's been in. It's only been 4, but it feels like it's been more. He is definitely a Doctor Who legend, and I would love to have met him at a Comic Con. But he did a really good performance as Gulliver. I like the writing for Gulliver in this one, just using the dialogue of Gulliver from the book Gulliver's Travels only, to sort of try and speak to other characters. I thought that was simple but effective. And also, one of my other favourite performances in The Mind Robber was Emery Jones, I hope I pronounced that right, as the Master. Again, we'll just call him the Master Writer. I love that there was a change in his voice when he's been possessed by the Master Brain, I think it was called, and when he's just being the writer that's been trapped in this fictional world. I kind of like the over the top possessed voice. Minor nitpicks for The Mind Robber is Zoe in this story. I don't think she had that much to do, which was certainly rectified with the subsequent story, The Invasion. But in this story, she just had to scream a lot and kind of look, to a certain extent, pretty in the spacesuit that she's wearing, the iconic spacesuit as we all know now. But Zoe and Wendy Padbury deserves a lot more better. At least she had a good action scene with Krakus, but yeah, they could have done a bit more with Zoe in this story. The other minor nitpick would be that the cliffhanger to episode 3 was very similar to the cliffhanger in episode 2, and that's only it's more my personal choice because I was watching this back to back at the time, so probably from a weekly episode standpoint, it probably wouldn't have been as repetitive. But yeah, just watching it back to back, it was a little bit repetitive. Although the third one, the cliffhanger to episode 3 with the Medusa, I thought was far better than the unicorn cliffhanger in episode 2. This DVD has a really good making of featurette where it goes into all the problems that they had in making this production, from adding an extra episode to the cast being very tired from the really strenuous production blocks. They were I think doing at least sort of 30 or 40 episodes per season, and that's a lot of weeks of rehearsing and then shooting and getting all your lines together. It's very strenuous for the actors, to the point where they even cut 5 minutes off each episode so they didn't have to pay the actors any extra, which is a bit mean, but again, very different times. But yeah, when you learn about all the struggles that they had in producing this story, probably let alone any of the other stories from that season, they have done a really good job. And even though the actors were very tired and probably a bit burnt out, they didn't show that on screen at all. Patrick Troughton, Wendy Padbury, Fraser Hines, they were brilliant. And if they didn't believe in them stories or show that in their performances, then it would have been flat. And again, Doctor Who would have been hanging on by a thread. But credit to everyone in this, from the actors, the writers, the producers, the directors, set designers. They really brought this story to life, and it shows me a whole new appreciation to the Mind Robber. I'm going to give The Mind Robber a TARDIS rating of 8 out of 10. This is just a great imaginative story with a really good creepy element into the first episode, and then just fun adventure through episodes 2 to 5, especially towards the end with all the different fictional characters popping up when the Doctor and the Master Writer are battling wits. I also like the vulnerability that was brought into the Doctor in this story. It kind of just planted some seeds of what you would get to see at the War Games, where you just feel that the Doctor is getting into more and more dangerous situations, to the point where he can't fix it himself and has to go and seek help. On top of that, the rest of the characters, the writing, the special effects, the production, there's just a real labour of love from this story, which I just highly recommend that you check out, which you can do on DVD and also on BritBox. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on The Mind Robber, and is this your favourite Doctor Who story from the Patrick Troughton era? Next time on Timey Wimey Review, I'm going to take a little break from the Doctor Who reviews and go back to the Sarah Jane adventures with the story Revenge of the Slitheen. Until then, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And as a good doctor once said, you can't blow up a fictional character.